Hey, good afternoon or good evening to many of you today. This is actually going to be our last major panel of the weekend, and it's kind of ending in the same way it started with a panel by Felix, hosted by Felix this time, and another Nick as well. This time we've got Nick Dragotta today, and it's a very exciting for me because I've never gotten a chance to talk to Nick before. But Nick, I love your artwork, love your storytelling. And I'm going to be a fly on the wall for this entire presentation because I'm really looking forward to it. And Felix, as always, I have to thank you for all the support you've given both CAF and the channel all these years. I appreciate you helping me put these shows together. Really, I mean, you make them so much more fun by being a part of them, and certainly more interesting for the fans who tune into these shows. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate everything you've done for me.
No, not at all, Bill. It's really kind of you to say. You always say that, and I always have to say I'm happy to do it because I want to pay back you and CAF for all the years I've been in the hobby. When I got in the hobby, it was really through when I seriously got in the hobby. It really was through CAF. So anyway, 16, 17 years later, here we are, and of course, I got to thank all the artists for giving us their time. Since the beginning of Comic Art Live, and to the last few times, the artists who are contributing art, like Nick. Nick famously does very, very little art on paper and hasn't taken commissions in years, but produced 3 really cool pieces, which we can't wait to show off to the fans and collectors and the audience who get a chance to get some rare Nick Dragotta art. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I'm going to get out of your way. I'm going to prep the slides like I talked about, and I'll be listening for your cues whenever you want me to show us one of the art examples or one of the pieces that you've made available for sale today.
Cool.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, let's see who we have in the chat. Hello, Annika. Hello, Victor. Hello, Mr. Easy Go Lucky. I think this is some of you guys are 3 for 3 for our chats this weekend. Tyler T. Matt Moore, Marcus Wade, definitely 3 for 3. How you doing? Pat. Hey, Pat. Mike Sitchy, Casey, Ron Lim, JC Padilla, Afronaut, Michael Finn, Tragic Anti-Hero. Thanks, everyone, for coming in. And, of course, thanks, Nick. Busy weekend, huh?
Yeah. Yesterday we were at West Point for my niece's graduation. I got a horrific sunburn, but I'm on the mend. And I just got over COVID too a few weeks ago, so it's been a busy time.
Yeah, and you're able to do this art even through all that through the COVID, and thanks again. I think.
Yeah, and to piggyback what you were saying about comic art fans, as an artist, I always loved the site because it was almost like the place you could get artist editions before artist editions, and you could look at high-res scans of original art that you couldn't see anywhere else. So I'm a big fan of the website and still peruse it to this day to check out people's collections and look at art. I love it.
Let's just give everyone a quick background about Nick Dragotta. My first exposure to you was through Marvel Comics. I think that's when I really started seeing your work, and you worked on some real high-profile projects. You did Fantastic Four FF with Jonathan Hickman, but you also had done X-STATIX with Peter Milligan, and sharing art duties with Mike Allred, really cool looking art. And I think right now, this moment, your lasting contribution may be as co-creator of America Chavez, who is now a popular Marvel character. Like might be my daughter's favorite Marvel character right now. So.
I mean,
what really blew you up, you start at Marvel, you think, okay, in terms of like profile, in terms of eyeballs, that's almost top of the heap. But what really blew you up was your creator-owned series with Jonathan Hickman, East of West. That's when I actually started repping you. And since then, just amongst collectors, your art has been like gold. I just seriously sought after. And yes, part of the reason is because you did the interiors digitally, so there just hasn't been that much art. But in a similar way, like absence makes the heart grow fonder. Like that lack of opportunity just makes people like want your art even more. So you've done a lot of covers on paper, and those always sell right away. Whenever we've opened up a commission list, boom, filled up, and we take long commission lists. And it's actually been a while since we've been able to take one for you. But yeah, your star has definitely risen over the last 8-9 years, and now you are back doing your own creator-owned project, one that you came up with, and you have some help on it, but it's more or less a solo Nick Dragotta project, and we've had some original art from that, which we're actually going to show everyone. Just really want everyone to check out what Nick has been doing these days. If you only know him through Marvel or even through East of West, I mean, you just haven't seen anything yet. If you are a Nick Dragotta fan, then you've probably seen this art because I've shared a lot of it on social media. But if you're new to it, you're in for a major treat. So for me, Nick, big turning point in your art was from Marvel to East of West, and East of West was what had very consistent look throughout. From the first issue to last, it was like what 45 issues.
Yeah.
And the last issue was like oversized, so it was like anyway. And I don't think you guys ever missed a deadline. You guys were like amazing.
No, we missed quite a few. I mean, we were consistent though. We shot for 10 issues a year early on, and we hit that pretty much for a bit, and then kind of fell to 8. But we missed deadlines, especially as we were wrapping up. And Jonathan went back to Marvel and started working on the X-Men and things like that. And I had a lot of other opportunities to do some stuff too. And that's kind of one of the luxuries with creator end. You're not you can kind of make your own schedule and not be so beholden to deadlines. But at the same time, we really wanted to finish that story. And that's partly why I do go digital. Like I feel like it's partly I want to serve the story, and in this case, I don't know if East of West would have ever finished if it was on paper, because it would have taken longer. And those times we did miss deadlines would have been even more extended. So it was digital might have been a big proponent in getting that storyline finished. And also to add to your point about the consistency, I think that's just the artist doing something he's creating whole cloth. When I go to Marvel or a DC, I don't know why, but I feel so beholden to the creators that came before me, and kind of like adding some of that influence into the work. And maybe it's the nostalgia within myself that I want to see in the book. So I want to look at that stuff and add it into it. But East of West was more of just me kind of bringing everything into it, and mostly myself. Well,
you say that, except that your Batman Black and White story, which is one of the things we're going to be taking a look at in a second, is unlike any Batman we've ever seen, and there's no other Batman that's come before. I bet when I look at your Batman Black and White story, I don't say, okay, well, there's a little Neil Adams, or there's a little Jim Aparo, or Frank Miller, or whoever the great Batman artists were, whichever Batman artist you were a fan of. I don't see any of it in that Batman story.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, maybe because I got to write it, so I felt like I was just doing me. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. That was different for sure. I wasn't looking at anyone else going, I want to put this, creator's Batman in this story. It was a black and white, so it was only 8 pages, and I got to really just like go off on it, and I had plenty of time. And probably the last time I ever did a story like that, though, because I did that 11 by 17 pages, fully zip-a-toned. I mean, you were putting in orders for the zip, and that's a lot of zip. That's a lot of tone and a lot of work. But I think it came out really nice, and it's definitely some of the best pages I've produced in my career. So I'm proud of it.
Big change from Marvel to East of West. And now there's another change from East of West to this solo stuff you're doing, starting with Batman Black and White and going into Ghost Cage. And I think I sort of identified, why there's been this change. The East of West is very, very manga influenced. but at the same time, you were drawing it to be colored. And Frank Martin did an absolutely fantastic job.
Incredible.
But the latest stuff is like pure manga. It's black and white. So it has yet another different and added dimension, at least certainly to the original art. And as you just mentioned, for the Batman pages fully toned, Ghost Cage pages are also toned. The ones that the pages that you did do. And so why don't we go and take a look at that, Bill? If you're in there, let's get started at some of this Batman Black. Oh, you know what, Bill? Can we go Batman Black and White first, and then we'll do Ghost Cage?
Yes, we can. Sorry about that. I can hop around on there. I apologize.
Don't worry.
Let me.
And while you're doing that, let's say hi to Robert Riley, Don Bargenda, Jackson Pollock, Victor. I think I said hello to ML, and yeah, a lot of names I recognize. Thanks so much for spending your Sunday with us.
Give me 1 minute though. I got to move a couple things around here. I apologize, Felix.
Questions in here. Marcus says, "Do you go to Japan to pick out the screen tone?" No, we don't do that anymore. But the first time we did that was in a few years ago when we did go to Japan, and there is an amazing stationery store, art supply store. Just like entire row devoted to
floors.
Yeah, and then the guys went crazy. I have a little footage of that. It's a lot of fun. Pat L agrees that Batman Black and White story is so great. Thanks, Pat. Victor got the Berserk commission. He's super happy with it.
Thanks.
Marcus is 3 for 3 joining us in the chat, but 0 for 4 in claims. Maybe your streak will be broken today, Marcus. We shall see. Okay. Yeah, and if you guys have any questions for Nick, you can shoot him during our chat, but I am definitely going to try and save a little time there for any questions for Nick. We got David Esconi's son. Good to see you again, David. Ray, Brienne, and Don. And he has a question. Hi, Nick. Just want to ask, what inking materials did you use in Batman Black and White?
I kind of use whatever's available. I like to, what I've learned for my own work, I'll start with the smallest pen I have, and I'm going to grab it really quick.
Matt Chu says, howdy, first time watching live and looking forward to many
I
more.
like these Uniball pens. Where is it here? Signo DX, and it's a 0.28. It's a really fine, small ballpoint. And then I'll come back in with like 0.04 micron and maybe build up the line or use a brush to build it up. But I like this. I like starting with a base with a thin line first. And that's what I'm using the ink, and just whatever ink I have available. I like the Karataki green bottle black ink. It gives me a nice thick black, consistent black. This is the mech for Batman Black and White. This was a commission for Felix for your fund, I believe, right?
Exactly. This is actually, Bill's not going in quite the order I was hoping, but it's fine. Bill, you can leave it on this one. This is a commission, or not even a commission. This was a piece that Nick did special just for our first art charity, art auction for our charity, Lu Family Fund. And this is just a kick-ass piece. You can see it's fully rendered. It's got tone. And this piece sold for, I think, like $12,000 during our charity auction. This was number one until Trad's piece, and Trad became number one. But this is like our second highest grossing, highest result for any of our charity auctions. We've done a lot of NAACP. We did it for Black Lives Matters, for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. We also did ACLU, but this was for Lu Family Fund, and you even just beat out James Jean, just 11,500. So congrats. Yeah, I didn't know what you were going to draw. You said you're just going to turn in something, and you had done a previous commission, which we'll see at some point, and this is a riff on that, and it was extremely popular. Bill, if you can pull up the other Batmech, that'd be great.
So the idea with the Batmech is I wanted to kind of get the influence of a bat into the mech's head. So I think this particular shot, you can see it. He's kind of got like the actual animal of a bat, its head. These
Hey,
are
you
the
want me to
pages.
start off? I hate to interrupt. You want me to start to the first page of the Batman
Yeah,
Legacy?
we'll just go in this order. It's fine. This is
Okay, yeah, they kind of popped in alphabetically here.
okay. This is from Batman Black and White. I think it was issue 4. The story's called
Yeah.
Legacy, and this is page 1. This is the original art, so it's as published. And this was an absolutely amazing 8-page story. You know, Nick, we had a lot of guys work on Batman Black and White stories. You know, Bilquis Evely, Nick Darrington, Daniel Warren Johnson, James Herron, Trad Moore. You know, forgive me if I forgot anyone. And I was telling people, and I'll say it now publicly, I think your story was definitely was my favorite, and I think the most impressive. So
Oh, thanks.
here you go. This is page 1. Bill, just leave it on the whole page. You don't have to do a close up. Yeah, just leave it like that. That's fine. So this is page 1. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this?
Well, the idea was a future Gotham. I didn't want to put a year on it, but it's definitely in the far future, where, as we can see, people are living amongst the rooftops and growing crops. And then there's this kind of spider kind of mech thing that comes in, climbs up the building, and starts to steal their crops and kill them. And then out of nowhere, we get a big mech fist that punches it.
Okay, let's go to page 2.
And then there's the Bat Mech. And originally, this was a commission. I can't remember his name.
I was hoping to lead off with that piece, but that's from Francis Shervin.
Francis, yeah. So Francis is a great, big art collector. It's been supporting the Felix crew for quite some time. And years ago, I can't remember the show. Might have been Seattle. I think he asked for a Bat Mech, and I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. And it was for him. I drew the very first design of this Bat Mech, and it was honestly, it was one of the best commissions I had done up until that point. And this is when I was really doing maybe 6 to 10 a year for you, Felix. So it was early on, and this was, I think, one of the first ones where I kind of really started to level up on it. And Francis got some commissions are losers, some are pure winners, and Francis got maybe one of the best ones I've ever done.
Nah, there are no losers. They're all winners. Francis was winner.
Personally, you feel that way sometimes.
We call it winner plus. He won extra.
But yeah, this one turned out great, and I just remember being like, man, if I ever get an opportunity to write a Batman story and do something, I'm going to use this character. And lo and behold, Andy Corey, when they put the Batman Black and White, was a huge fan. He was working at DC at the time. He was the editor of a book. And he just was like, yeah, you can write and draw it. I'd love to have you on it. And lent a lot to helping me craft the story too. And this is what we came up with. And this is his first appearance in a comic book. But Francis owns the very first piece through a commission that where he appeared.
That was the genesis of this.
Yeah.
As we go along, I'm just going to say, Nick, we need to see more. I mean, there are more stories with this in this world. And I hope we see more. But let's go to page 3, Bill.
But on this page here, too, using some of this stuff I did on East to West in terms of storytelling, silhouettes and speed lines, blood splatter, just kind of getting that vibe into it. Yeah, and then here, just kind of pushing the angle a little bit. The spiders crawled up the buildings. He turned. Well, this is the second one. He turns and then he blows it away.
So at this point, we are not 100% aware of the scale of the Batmech. As far as we know, this is 1/1 human scale, right?
Well, I think in the first page you see humans up against the fist,
right.
And yeah, they're pretty small comparatively. But yeah, I like the reveal of the gun here. I just pull it out of his cape.
And pow, bottom panel just blows apart that spider.
Definitely some manga vibes going on. I can see Yasuhiko, the manga artist that did Gundam Origins. I think he would do this technique where you just kind of put a 10% tone on white, kind of scrape it out into white a little bit. So Constantly influenced by what I see around me and using it.
Whenever you're ready, Bill. Next page.
Yeah, and then just, pulling out, setting the scene again. We're like on the ledge with some humans looking down at the action. We see that the one mech has lost his arms and decides to run. Maybe that was part of Batman's plan, so he could follow him back to the home base. And just still trying to set up a mystery, like what is this Batmech? Is someone piloting it, or is it its own autonomous robot? And then there was a lot of cryptic little messages in this. So you can see there's a Wayne, there's a W he's putting together on the robot.
Yeah.
And starting to put some clues together, and we see that one human life was lost. And then the Batmech takes off.
Right. Next page, Bill. Thank you.
And still tracking it down. Now, this is one where I'm kind of made an error in there, and someone caught this. That should be when I put the tone down, I thought that was a moon, but looking at it now, I'm like, is that planet Earth?
Yeah.
And it was confusing to some readers because they thought he went to a different planet, but no, he's on planet Earth, and that's the moon, the reflection of the moon. And then the humans are following the footsteps, and in the distance, they can see the explosions and the carnage going on. And then we see that he's gone through more of these spider mechs. And yeah, next page.
Was the planet corrected in the print version?
No.
Yeah.
Totally got by everyone.
Yeah.
And then just a little ode to Robin. Robin lands on his portal. He opens it up and kind of like not mimicking, but this is definitely like, I liked Francis's commission so much. I wanted that shot again in this story when I fully revealed Batman. So I wanted to pull that into it. I remember that was like the first time I did this zip technique with the gun where I used like my darkest tone, almost like a 90% tone, and a little bit of light. So those are gradient tones, and then just scraping away a little bit of highlights on the edges of the gun. You get that really nice 3D effect on the gun there. And this is like layered tones too, Felix. So like this isn't really meant to print that well because it's difficult to print because I'm layering the tone. So you're definitely going to get some moire action in some of it. But I was just having such a blast of just trying to get volume and depth with these tones. I did my best to scan it and get away from that moire problem with the printing, but you can see it in some of the printing on the comic book. But like, these originals look amazing. Like they were hard to let go. They look so good.
Amazing. Well, if it's any consolation, that was an absolute record for a
Yeah, it was the highest thing I've ever sold something for. So I'm appreciative.
Okay, so
That's the original. Yeah, look, his scale, he got bigger too.
So this was Francis's commission, the original one, and he actually doesn't own this anymore. Another collector I know got it from Francis, but this just blew all of us away when we saw it. Yeah, he just got an amazing commission. I think even at the time, just anyone who saw this said, please, we got to see a story.
It stuck with me. So, and just like too, the way I was doing these tones was just a lot. There's different techniques in how I'm scraping away, layering it to get like a hard cut shadow versus the armor on top with the white into the gray. And I think that's just like a 10 or 20%. And then I'm just kind of chipping away at it, making it look like a texture. So I have a blast doing this. You just get lost in it. So it's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's it. That's the original piece. The first time I ever drew it as a commission at Seattle, I think.
Well, it's starting to jog my memory. I think it was the underbidder on the charity auction was so annoyed or disappointed he didn't win that he just threw some insane number at Francis to get that commission out of him. He finally did. Yeah.
Well, good for Francis. Because I remember Francis telling me like his father was saying, I don't know if he wants me to share this, but was saying something like, "What are you gonna do with all this art?" And he's like, "Well, Dad, I see it as an investment. And I think these are worthwhile investments. And I just got this great piece." And he was just telling me the story. So hopefully it paid off, and he was right. So good
Yeah,
for
they're not really investments,
him.
but he had a great idea, and
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a passion for collecting original art. It's I collect original art and old skateboards, so that's just something that means so much to me, and I love them. I hang it up on my walls, and appreciate it. So maybe it is an investment if you're selling it to people that appreciate it that much and are passionate about it.
you should bring a skateboard deck, a blank one, to next show where a bunch of us are at. And just have a lot of guys draw on it.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Uh, okay, Bill, we're ready to go on the next page. Whenever you're ready, Bill. Ghost Cage. We still have some Batman black and white pages.
I'm sorry. Either I'm not downloading all the files, or you're right. Let me switch back here. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
You know what? It's not your fault. This is very impromptu. I just sent these scans to Bill like maybe an hour ago. Yeah. Okay. So this is the page after.
Yeah, this is where he comes in and he finds this underground layer of like kind of people that have been stealing from the people above, and I don't know. I guess they're living this lifestyle of elitism and underground, and they in the script, I believe he says, "Join us, you're Wayne." But this is like these are way far descendants of Bruce Wayne. That was the idea of the story, and he takes his mask off, and you see he's this kind of deformed. I wanted to kind of leave it. I don't want to even explain what he is, but he's something other. He's gone beyond just a man. He's not a robot, but he's still fighting the good fight. And no one is safe still. So
All right, and that's the next page.
yeah, and that's the final page.
This when I posted all 8 pages on social media, this page got the most reaction. Yeah, and
Cool.
even more than the Batman page. It was this page. People really were going crazy for.
Man, I had a blast doing this. I really love writing and drawing. I really do. And this is one particular where you could really shape it. You can really make every panel mean something, and you're not racing a deadline and just going, I just got to get this done. Like I could really craft it. And time is always in an artist's favor. So this was something I had time on. I took my time on, and appreciative. So.
Okay. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that. This to me was a real turning point in your art. I always loved it, but this was just, when I held it in my hands, like, wow. Even seeing the skins running, but when you actually hold it in your hands,
the originals it doesn't do it justice when you see it on screen or print. Yeah, it came out really nice.
Okay, so from Batman Black and White, you go on to your next, not long form like East of West certainly, but it's your first solo project, and it's a mini. It's going to be 3 issues, but each issue is 40 something pages. It's like the equivalent of a 6-issue.
It is 44 pages in 3 months, but with my recent bout of COVID, and I went out to a Marvel premiere, and my schedule got a little thrown off. So we're 3 to 4 weeks late on the next issue, but 3. So we did basically what you just said, equivalent of 6 issues in 4 months. But 3 44-page issues.
I mean, ultimately, I think it's going to be a beautiful collection, and
it is
very potentially evergreen trade. I mean, you can put. I mean, anybody who's into East of West, or certainly if they're into Nick Dragotta, I mean, it's a must-have. And what's
David just
David Brothers is in the house. How you doing, David?
What's up, David?
Anyway, this it's hopefully be a collection that's going to be on the shelves for a long, long time. And of course, as the art rep and also art collector, I was really hoping that the whole thing would be on paper. But there are certain realities with time, and you couldn't put any on paper, but at least you put some of it on paper. We did the drop about a month ago. All the pages sold. I'm not sure if anybody audience was one of the collectors who got a page. But yeah, let's take a look at some of this art, and you can walk us through it. So this, I'll just tell people this was supposed to be the original cover to one.
Yeah, this was for the pitch to
Mhm.
just show what the cover might look like. The story wasn't fully written, and this was co-created by my friend Caleb Goldner, edited by David Brothers, who's in the chat. So if you got anything to add, David, please do. And originally Caleb and it was David who said, "Yeah, you and Caleb should hang out." Caleb had moved to the Bay Area. David was living there. I was living there. And me and Caleb started hanging out. We have a lot of the same interests in like collecting toys and manga. And I mean, I love just chopping it up with people like David and Caleb who are so steeped in manga. And they always put me onto new things. And it was just kind of like, I want to make comics with these guys. And Caleb and I were like kind of bitching one night about the property costs and rent in the Bay Area. Because for a long time I wanted to buy and we just couldn't afford it. And then he was bitching about rents and how high they were in Oakland. And so we got into this idea about a story about real estate moguls fighting over different towers. And like that would be the new land. How high can you go? And it was going to be like a story about the raid, like a kind of like a raid, just a simple fight comic. Because after East to West, I wanted to do something that I thought would be easier to draw and just make it an action, just a straight action comic, not be too hard. And I told Caleb, like, I want to write and kind of direct this. And he was like totally down to just be like, dude, I'll be your wingman. I'll help you write. And he contributed a bunch of great ideas. And it eventually just segued into a book about energy. And we thought that was more interesting as time went on and gave us more possibilities for the different bosses on the different levels. And so, yeah, this is the cover for just a pitch, though. When I was still figuring out who these characters are. So there's Sam is the main guy. He's a kind of, I don't even know how to describe him, but he's almost like a soul in a suit. And you have Karloff, who is the bad guy down in the corner, and then you have Doyle and the suit, the shirt and tie, and then you have Blair in her armor. So we kind of hid this piece for quite a bit because we didn't want to reveal who Blair was, because we didn't reveal that till issue 2. But yeah, this was me finding my way with it and doing it on paper, just trying to be loose too, and figuring out like what kind of tools I would use to get this look. And in between this and the Batman Black and White, I'd done some stuff with David Brothers. So we did a story in Cry Punch. I believe the comic, it was an anthology, and we did a story called Good Devils, where I worked in really a looser fashion. And I just kind of said, this is what I'm putting down. I'm not going to think too much about correcting the art. I'm just going to draw it and tell a story. And we did it in black and white bitmap. And one thing about that was the publisher of the book, Al Goff at the time, he said, we're going to publish this in bitmap files only. And so I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I'm not going to get into adjusting the line art and figuring it out. I'm just going to it's just going to be black and white tones. And we used tones on that. And I love the way it printed. So that was where the seed was laid to do Ghost Cage as black and white bitmap files only. So really crisp, clean black and white. And that kind of came out of like what David and I were doing. And I was working really loosely and fun and fast. And then, so this is the version of cover 1 that we see in print, where I pulled back on the story elements of it and didn't want to show full adult Sam, but Sam as he appears in issue 1 as kind of like our baby soul, where he's most manipulated and probably most confused as to what's going on. But there are elements I liked in that early piece that I used in here. So
Hey,
yeah,
I'll
this
just
is on
say,
paper.
for anybody who wants to see the Good Devils story and the art from the Cry Punch anthology, it's on the site. It's on felixcomicart.com. Just go to Nick's page, scroll down to, I think it's either Cry Punch or Good Devils. You'll find it.
Yeah, and David makes a great point in the comments of just seeing like all our different pop culture languages. I would add David into this too. It's like we're all fusing these different influences of what we like. Like Caleb is into manga, where he's much more comedic, and he definitely has a more of a sense of humor than say a writer like Jonathan, and he'll add a lot of that into the story, and then it's fun to just try to problem solve that and figure out like how I can work his influences in, and just follow what he's going with, and then kind of you bring my sense in, and then David will come in and look at it and go, oh, what if we add a line of dialogue here that merely just makes it hit home in a whole different way, but like we keep amplifying and upping each other's game, and it's really fun. And there's it's just we also strive too as creators to just make the work fun and not put any pressure on ourselves, and just enjoy this process. And we're doing it. And I think like a nice thing too about the three of us is like we finish, like I can rely on each of us to get our part done and do it well. And that's so important when you meet those creative partners like David, Caleb, Jonathan Hickman, Frank Martin, Russ Wooten. It's just you do what you say you're going to do and you get it done. And it's like, that's half the battle with comics. So I'm really thankful.
The opening sequence, which I really enjoy, is like nothing we've seen before.
Yeah, I wanted to add like a horror element and a lot of. I think like one thing with my storytelling, sometimes I'm a little too. I explain too much or I establish too much, and sometimes I think it can be boring. At least when I look at it, sometimes, and I wanted to pull back on that and maybe add a little more surrealism into the storytelling, or make it a little more abstract and have readers inject themselves into it. So I was going to throw imagery at it, which will then eventually be explained almost 100 pages later. And that was the idea on some of this imagery here. So
next page, Bill. We just zoom in on this eyeball. And I think this is a double page splash. So
yeah, this is a double page spread. I drew these on B4. So this is like manga size paper. So I believe it's 10 by 15. So it's a few inches shorter than the American size, 11 by 17. And just again, I did it on that paper because it's very abundant and cheap, and it's not like Bristol. It's a little thinner, but it's really smooth and nice to ink on, and it takes tones really well. But again, psychologically, I can just rip through that paper and not really care. And that was kind of the mindset in doing this, was trying to loosen up and draw more freely. But then again, the idea of the drawing is taking the eyeball, mimicking it, and also mimicking what we see in Sam's face, which is an eyeball. Coming in even further. Yeah. And then here's our first intro to Karloff, where he awakens Sam by tapping on glass, which I think this goes back to RoboCop, which I saw very early on. Yeah. Definitely pulling subconsciously from that stuff. There's no doubt.
You remember the character's name was Miguel Ferrer?
Mm-hmm.
Next slide.
It's a lot of fun though, doing different ink techniques on that, just trying to get the playing with Karloff and who he is, and again, like being abstract with readers, like not is this a human being or is this a projection of a human being? And then playing with the eye again, the iconography of the eye, what it is it, and now it's Sam entombed in a cannonball. And then this was tricky too. I remember just in to go back to some of the writing here, again, going back to like, how much should we explain? How much should we pull back on? And, like Caleb would go in and write this great dialogue, and then I'd come in and add my 2 cents, and then David would come in, and this scene here is kind of set up for the whole book. And might have been the hardest part of the script to do for us, because there was just so much thrown at the reader in these first five or six pages. And the idea is Sam is housed in a helicopter right now, and Karloff is walking around in his like virtual studio. And then we introduce Ghost Bud, his little sidekick, who floats in and out of the story between all the different characters. Yeah, and I don't know why I like playing with this archetype of the evil guy with the big mustache, the Colonel Sanders mustache. I did it in East to West too. And I kind of wanted to play with that too. I like how Jonathan does the monochromatic characters throughout all his stories. And I thought I'd play with some of like this. This could be a relative of someone in East to West. The tower could be remnants of the East to West tower, or it's set in the far future or past. Just kind of playing with linking all my work together. It's Karloff, and now we cut to reality and see this helicopter charging towards a large tower and dropping a missile on it. And then the missile hits. So the tones were all done digitally, and this art was done on paper. And again, it's just for expedience and the realization that deadlines are now coming, and I can't take as much time as I would like. But then, I wanted to show scale, and then we come in, and the missile goes through the wall. We get an abstract shot of someone screaming. Chain is broken. We saw chains in the previous pages on this kind of cannonball, which crashes through. All sound effects were done by hand. I love breaking borders with sound effects and just making them white. And then the dust settles, and we see a hand. And then Sam's first rising. I mean, this page I must have drew so many times. Not in black, showing everything, using a tone to go dark to light. And at the end, there's just nothing more immediate or as powerful as just using this kind of more silhouette and just this shape. This is a variant cover that actually was a page in issue 2 also. And this is Blair using her Ghostwrupter sword when she destroys Fossil Fuel, the boss, on level 4, I believe.
That was all the slides that I have.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks. I caught on after a few minutes. I think I'm doing better now.
Perfect.
Thanks. So why don't we get to our first claim, since we checked out all that Ghost Cage art, and if anybody is itching for Ghost Cage art, Nick did a Ghost Cage piece for our claim sale. We've got 3 pieces. Nick doesn't do much art on paper, as we've made abundantly clear. He doesn't do many shows, does very little sketching, hasn't done commissions. This is a cool opportunity for collectors. And if you want a Ghost Cage piece, we got one coming up, and we're a portion of all these sales go to support comic art fans and Bill's efforts. So let's go with sketch number 1. You don't claim yet until I give the price.
Right. I was just gonna say, you gotta wait till you see the art before
you gotta wait to see the art. Actually, claim $5,000.
You don't even know the price yet.
It's going to be missing a 0 when you. But yeah, no.
Right. Everybody's.
Don't please.
We haven't even shown it yet. But yeah, do type claim 1 in it once it's shown, and we're seeing everything real time here in the chat, so we're a little bit ahead of you guys on the stream here. But we'll pull it up. We'll see who's first in here, and that's the person that'll get it. But do type claim 1, not just word claim or anything like that. It's got to have the number 1 on it too, please. So all right, we'll go ahead and show this. It does have the price on the slide, unlike the ones that we did the other day. So here is the first sketch.
Ghost Cage 1. It's $400. First claim gets it. You know the deal with Bill. It's how we see it on our side. I think I see Grant Riddle. Do you see that, Bill?
I do, but yeah, I want to wait 1 second because you can see everything kind of floods in really quick, and sometimes they nest themselves differently. But Grant Riddle is still just ahead of Marcus. So yes, Grant Riddle gets the Ghost Sketch.
Yeah, Dom Agenda.
Ghost Cage Sketch. That's awesome. Congratulations, Grant.
Yeah, Adam Parisi, Matt Chu, Jackson Pollock again. I think he tried twice. Matt Chu. Yeah, thanks to all you guys for trying. But here it is. This is the original. It's about 7x10, fully rendered with screen tones. Yeah.
Each one I inked it with a different tool, Felix. So this one was done in that thin ballpoint, and then where I built up some of the lines, and just like the line on the trap there, I might have used a brush, but this would be like the thinner ink style. It's got tone on it. And yeah, the first piece I've done in a long time.
So congrats.
And I appreciate it, Grant, because Comic Art Fans is an awesome website. And as an artist, I love just going and looking at the art and studying the art. And it's like an artist edition on the web, and it's all free, and you can peruse it, and I love it. So it's a great resource for artists. So you're supporting a good cause. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that, Nick, too. I've always felt it was a great resource for artists. Artists tell me all the time, like when they reference costumes and those sorts of things, if they're at a con, they'll pull up CAF and find what they need, and then you use that as a reference point. I appreciate the fact that CAF's been used in so many different ways. For collectors, it means one thing, or many different things. Artists, it means different things. And I just think it's great that it's become a wonderful resource for many different people for differing reasons.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So if anybody has any questions or comments about Ghost Cage, we have about 10 minutes left. So I have a couple pieces of art to go. But since we've been on this Ghost Cage kick, anybody got any questions for Nick? Feel free. But yeah, Nick, exciting. So, this is your first solo deal. Obviously, with a great team that you've put together with David Brothers and Caleb Gollner, and how are you feeling? Is this the sort of the direction you feel like you're going to continue in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of work, and I'm really proud of the book, and I think we pulled off the ending, and I could work with Caleb and David for the rest of my career, and I'd be a happy camper. So I got to be honest, I'm jonesing to do some mainstream stuff too now, and go back and play in those sandboxes. But creator owned is where it's at in terms of making a living, I think, as a comic artist. And back earlier when you were kind of talking about the history of my career and starting at Marvel with Mike Allred. I remember when I was working with Mike, I was getting a lot of work at Marvel through Mike. He would say, if I can't, he would be offered the jobs at first, and he would say, if Nick Dragotta pencils it, I'll ink it. And with his finishes, it looks pretty much like Allred art. And I was really thankful for those few years of my career, but I got to spend a lot of time on the internet with Mike and talking through email. And I remember saying, Mike, how do you make a living at this? And he would say, you have to do creator owned. And if you get a hit, it will be life changing. And that always stuck within me. And then, just working at Marvel for a decade, getting up to the point where I did Fantastic Four with Jonathan Hickman. And then Jonathan had done Manhattan projects with Nick Pitara. And he said, these image books are really starting to pop off. You wouldn't believe what we sold and the money we're making. And I think at the time they sold 20,000 copies, which again, to a Marvel or DC, that doesn't seem like a lot. But when you keep that profit selling 20,000 copies, that's life-changing money for a creator. So really thankful for companies like Image, and setting their business up like that and giving it back to the creators. But at the same time, I think my, careers, you go back and forth, and, but yeah, so I
All right.
will off to my point there. Tony's in here.
Let's start off with Adam Parisi. He says, any thought of continuing the story after these 3 issues?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something I think we'll definitely revisit. I think the way we leave the story, and the feedback on it has been unbelievable. I mean, the stuff people have written to me about it, and the comments I see online and the reviews have been awesome, and that inspires me to like do more with it and keep going. David asks, "What's the toughest thing I've had to draw in Ghost Cage?" Dude, probably the ending. I mean, just figuring out this ending, and just landing it emotionally. I think. Um, so probably that. Ghost Cage is a mini, but hopefully we'll do more. I mean, I'm sure Caleb's going to be down, and I know David will. Let's see here.
Let's go with Tony.
Yeah, Tony Fleek says, "Can we get a manga format? So can we get it printed smaller?" Which is a really great idea, and we presented that to Image, and hopefully, they take us up on it. We'll see. I think that would be really cool.
Then Jackson Pollock asks, when you say you want to do more mainstream work, do you have story ideas saved up you want to tackle, or do you want to see what comes your way?
Well, I just had an opportunity to. I think I can say this. I'm going to do a fill-in on Amazing Spider-Man. So John Romita Jr. is doing the book now, and one of the issues down the line, I've agreed to do a fill-in on it, and I've got the script. It's really cool. So it's like things like that I can't even say no to. Like when an opportunity comes along and it's just going to be, a little slice of my schedule, I'm going to do that.
Will you do that on paper, please?
Yeah, I'll do that on paper. Also, but before that, I'm tackling a short story with David. We're going to do backups in the issues of Newburn, Chip Zdarsky's book at Image, with the artist. His father's a big deal. He's an incredible artist. I forget his name right now. I'm sorry, but Newburn. He's a detective that works for the mob, and David and I are doing a backup story in that about a short crime story in New York City that I'm really excited. That David's written a brilliant script. That'll appear as 5-issue chunks in 4 issues in Newburn.
Matt Chu asks, "Hi Nick, I was curious on average, how long does it take you to finish a page from start to finish?"
If I'm working digitally, I can crank. I could easily a page a day, possibly 2 or 3 if I need to. On paper, it slows down a little bit because I'd like to plan it digitally. I'll definitely do a tighter thumbnail, blow it up, then lightbox it, and then ink it. I mean, that's why I go digital. It's just it removes so many steps from the process for me. I've never been an artist that's super confident that's just going to go right to boards and lay it down. I really like to edit my work and see it small, big, flip it, and play with it. Yeah, at least a page a day. If you want to make a living at this, I think you got to get into the habit of drawing a page a day. Yes, Jacob Phillips. Thanks, guys. Artist on Newburn. He's awesome, and
he's Sean Phillips' son, I believe.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's really good. I was reading some of the issues, and they're doing some really cool stuff.
All right, let's go to our next piece of art for Claim, sketch number 2. We're ready again. Same thing. You type in Claim 2, but only after the image comes up. And whenever you're ready, Bill. And it is an East of West piece. Yeah, East of West is over, but here's some new art for it.
Yeah, so Felix, this particular sketch I did in a dead weight. This is a micron of 4, and I love the 4. It's like the perfect line. You don't want to mess with it. It's just it really looks sharp, and this is pretty much like straight to inks. Like just I know these characters by heart, and I'm really loose in gesture, and I just go right into this one. And so yeah, you've got Archibald, Death, and Crow on there. Probably 3 of the more popular characters in the book. And I like kind of playing in the style, like just a big flat black simple line. I wish fans liked this style of art more, because I would draw every page like this if I could, because I just love the simplicity and the directness of it. A little bit of white out in the hair on Crow.
I guess Bill has determined that Jackson was the first one to claim. So congrats, Jackson. Thanks for trying. Don Bargenda, Victor, Chuck, Marcus, Tyler, ML, Adam, Mike, Morgan, JC, Shaheen. Thanks to everyone for trying, but congratulations, Jackson. And here we go. So again, about 7 by 10.
Thanks, Jackson.
Fully finished piece, and with a cool hand lettered logo.
Yeah, I did get one.
Art out there, and here you go, Jackson. You got one. Wow, our hour's almost up, Nick. So I wasn't gonna say anything about the third piece. It's just something that you and I talked about. It'd be kind of fun to do, and after the fact, whoever got it would be kind of tickled by it. But let's see who's going to get claim 3 whenever you're ready, Bill. It is, of course, Spider-Man. And Nick let the cat out of the bag. He's going to be doing an issue of Spider-Man. This is sort of the first one. Another 7x10 piece. This is fully penciled in ink, and it's got tone on it too.
Yeah, this one was with a brush and like a little bit of with the pen on the webbing and stuff. But I had to go back and do a John Romita Sr. vibe. I always loved his Spider-Man. So yeah, these were a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And Victor has picked this one up just ahead of a slew of other claimers, hoping to get a shot at it.
Yeah, David, definitely my main Spidey influence, definitely Romita. I mean, I can remember as a kid, like before kindergarten, having the big Spider-Man poster, almost like with that pose of him running. I think that's why I did it. And then I love John Romita Jr.'s too. Like they just drew such a weighty, heavy figure in Spidey and Peter Parker. I love it.
Look at this. Look at this. Like 3 awesome pieces just for Comic Art Live and this panel. Nick, you really did us a solid. Thank you so much.
Well, thank guys. Bill, Felix, thank you. Like you guys do such an amazing job promoting art, original art, and giving us avenues to make a living and support our craft. And it's just awesome. And all the fans and everyone that came in, David, Tony, my friends, and everyone that joined tonight. Thank you. I mean, you guys make me just want to push harder and make better comics. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing this, Nick. It really was an honor to have you on the show today, and for doing those artworks as well. It just gives everybody else, something to enjoy, take home from the show, make it feel a little bit more like an in-person show, even though this isn't one. But yeah, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing this, helping us close out the show today as far as the panels go. Anybody that did pick up any art, I've got Felix's email address that way, yeah, or right there. So please email Felix, letting him know your contact information so he can arrange getting the artworks paid for. Includes your mailing address when you do that. Just makes everything easier when he's putting together the invoices and whatnot. So don't do it tomorrow. Do it tonight. Do it in the next 10 minutes, and get him your contact information.
Thanks. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Bill. And of course, thanks to everyone in the audience. These are a lot of fun to do. Like the time just right on by.
I know an hour is nothing. That's why sometimes my conversations with collectors or artists, go 2 hours. You still could keep going if you wanted to. But yeah, thank you so much, you both, for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Hey, Ron.